This issue of the polyamorous community is not just about individuals having the right to be in a relationship with whomever they want to be in relationship with. There's a deeper conversation at play, and that is the traditional concepts of marriage and monogamy in the United States in particular are being redefined. Now, when I make that statement, I understand there's not naivete there, but there's a lot I'm leaving on the table. It's also important for me to say this. There are many people that you can talk to. There are many conversations that you can hear on social media around this topic.
But in the Bible, when you talk about David, when you talk about Solomon, the wisest person in all of earth, he had the most wives anybody has ever had.
The decaying thing, I would push back against that. I would say people just want more variety. They're attracted to other people and they want to act on that. And if they find a partner who's also willing to do that and they stay together, I don't see what would be the issue.
So there are two important things here, because people are now beginning, when I say people, I mean conversations that I'm having and things that I'm seeing around this topic. People are starting to say that the Bible supports this. Now, let me just say this as a person who studied the Bible for a long time. I don't have to get into my professional credentials right now educationally, because that's not that important to you. But I will say this. This is a conversation and a topic that I have thought about and I've studied, not in detail, but I have had some experience with this conversation. And when you're talking about redefining relationships, this goes right along with the culture that we are seeing in America. That is that traditional institutions, including the military, there's a growing disdain for American institutions. You hear what I'm saying? A growing disdain. And so I don't come at this more so as the master. I think that's quite arrogant. That's not my intention. My intention is to have a conversation with you, right? That's my intention. My intention is to engage in conversation with you about this topic. Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament shows stories about famous biblical characters who have multiple spouses or wives in relationship. There's something that you need to understand about that. Part of that had to do with power dynamics and authority. It is very possible that females in that culture did not have the same rights as males did. So females or ladies or women could have been considered as property. Think about, hear me. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm telling you, hear me clearly. I'm telling you, this is one of the possible reasons why, when we talk about this concept of polygamy and why it's becoming a rising conversation in this country, and such a very interesting topic of conversation that we're having today, because it's on the rise again, meaning that people are starting to look at alternative ways to be in loving relationship, in monogamous relationship. And so they're now saying polyamory or being in a polygamous relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. And what I'm hearing is that people would then use the Bible to justify that. Cannot do is we cannot look at the biblical text and say that the biblical text is supporting things and giving us the okay on certain ethical mores or ethical situations that it was never intended to. So when you look at the Old Testament, number one, or the Hebrew Bible, that's how theologians and people who study the Bible talk about this. Number one, you got to understand what genre is written in. When I say genre, I mean, what is the context? Is it fiction in modern day terms? Is it fiction? Is it allegory, thriller? Is it a horror, a book that focuses on that genre? So when you talk about the Old Testament, particularly stories, they're narratives. And what do we know about narratives? Narratives are that there are many different life lessons that you can learn from a story, a narrative story. Some of them are good lessons. Some of them are bad lessons.